Hey guys, this has been the creator with Monumental Heart Media, and today I'm here with a really good friend of mine, Stephen Hilgart. He is a life business, what was life strategist, right? That's what you use. Okay, so we are. This is going to be episode number 2. We just talked about it right now. We have a name for the podcast, and it's going to be the Ask, Learn, and Grow podcast. And the concept of the show is that as an entrepreneur, business owner, you have the opportunity to submit questions either through Instagram, send us the DM, and I'm going to meet up with Steven. We're thinking about maybe once or twice a month, and we're going to ask him some questions. So we recently got a couple questions, and Steven, before we get started, do you want to say anything to the people, or are you just ready to go?
No, I'm excited about that. Questions are always a lot easier than it's when you're giving business advice or life advice. I'm going to tell you how to live your life. And it's just like this weird, creepy thing. But when someone asks a question, it's just so much better because they're like, someone's actually hungry to grow and improve their life. So I love this format. It's
Dude,
cool.
I'm excited, and there's a couple people that really I got positive feedback when they watched the reels, and some of the people watched the full podcast.
Nice.
And I'm excited for this too. I want to be able to provide value to the people that follow me and the people that just consume the content that I put out. So let's start off with Michael Riviera with Ascended National Title Agency, and what he asked is, how do you overcome daily mental struggles, maybe anxiety, depression? Is there any daily action or discipline I could follow to overcome this?
It's a little bit different for everybody, right? And one of the things that you got to figure out, it's so easy to tell you what I did or how I think you should do it, but ultimately what I do might not work for you. But I can give you a couple quick ideas. First and foremost is to have some habits, some rituals, some patterns, right? If you ever want to predict someone's success or failure, all you got to do is take a look at their habits or their rituals, and you can see where that path is heading. If they eat too much, they drink too much, they get this, they get that, obviously you're not going to feel very good over the course of the long term if you're not exercising, you're not taking care of yourself, you're not getting organized. Just little habits and routines like that. But we like to call them rituals. For me, every morning it's a walk. I'm going on a walk for at least an hour. I'm listening to something positive, and I just get away from my computer because that's one of the biggest things because I'm there 16, 18 hours a day, and I just need to step away. So before I do anything, I go center myself just by going for a walk, going out there. But I will go back. He mentioned the word depression. That usually is a little bit more intense of a feeling of just like frustration or stress, like we were talking before we started recording here. For me, there was a large part of my life where I was just super depressed. It was constant. That was my ritual. The ritual wasn't like go for a walk and take care of myself and not drink too much. No, it was depression. That was my habit. That was my ritual. And one of the things that I knew I had to do was recondition my mindset. And a couple of thoughts that I had on that aspect was the meaning of words changed for me, and specifically the words of emotions. So for me, I went there and I wrote down all of the emotions that I felt like on a daily basis or a weekly basis, and I tried to re-educate myself on those emotions. One of the emotions was loneliness. Right? For a lot of entrepreneurs getting started, it's hard to talk to people. It's hard to communicate about your business or the struggles of your day, unless you're talking to other entrepreneurs that are like, oh, yeah, man, I've dealt with that kind of a client. Oh, yeah, I've done. But for me, loneliness was such a big deal. I always felt alone. So one of the things that I changed emotions to, at least negative emotions, I turned them into action signals. So anytime that I felt lonely, I had written on a piece of paper stacked up on my wall that said, if you feel lonely, that means you need to reach out to people because someone else is feeling lonely too. So for me, one of the biggest things I would do almost immediately every single morning, I'd get up, I'd be doing my little workout, I'd look at that wall and I'd see this little sheet of paper. It said loneliness. If you're feeling lonely, text people. So I would just text 10 people, good morning, have a great day. And literally that was it. And for me, I stopped feeling lonely. It didn't even matter if they responded or not, but because I reached out, I wasn't lonely anymore. And that was one of the biggest things for me. That became one of my big rituals. And for anyone else who's stressed or frustrated, you got to realize that frustration means you're really close to a breakthrough. And the reason that frustration is there, because you're just like 99% of the way there and you just need to be kicked over the fence or jump over to the other side, whatever that is. So changing what these emotions mean to you. It's like the procrastination. Oh, God, I'm procrastinating. So it makes you want to procrastinate more. When it's, oh, man, I'm procrastinating. I need to take some sort of action right here, right now. So treat the negative emotions like an action signal. Depression, we can get really into detail about depression, but depression is really a selfish emotion. And that's going to trigger a lot of people. I'm sure anybody who listens to this, they think, what do you mean?
Elaborate with that, brother.
Because when you talk about depression, the thought pattern is about me. What am I not getting? What am I not feeling? What am I not doing? And other people say, no, I'm depressed because my kids aren't doing this. Your kids aren't doing this, but what does that actually mean to you? It means that I'm not a good parent. And then you start to really unravel and you start to see that depression really comes down to I'm not getting something. I'm not feeling something. People aren't paying attention to me. I'm not getting what I think I deserve. And listen, it might be true, but the thought pattern keeps you in depression. So the fastest way to get out of depression, the action signal, is to go help somebody. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen. Go volunteer at a homeless shelter. Go help people who are worse off than you right now. I promise you won't be depressed for long. Because in that moment, that action is, oh my God, you get the perspective and life changes with perspective.
No, I totally agree with that. And when I had my personal issues and I battled depression, I think one of the things that helped me out was I focus on positive. And I did by focus on gratitude, on my kids, the ability to wake up in a bed, I have bills, and
right.
And then also too, even though I was in a hard place, like I still had the ability to fight through it, and I was able to overcome. And man, that's your perspective on that made me think differently, man.
The last time we had this conversation about emotions, remember focus, language, and meaning, right?
Yeah.
Those pieces right there. So anytime someone's depressed, it's just a triad of that. Right? What is the language that you're using? What is the focus that you have? And what's the physiology? How you move and how you're breathing, right? So physiology, obviously the body plays a big role in how you feel. Of course, you're going to be depressed if you're down all the time and you don't eat healthy and you don't work out. Yeah, of course, you're going to feel depressed all the time because your body's hurting, right?
Yeah.
Your body's you're not cleansing. You're not taking care of yourself. Like it's pretty tough to feel good when your body hurts all the time. But the second piece is the focus. If you look at depression, is that person going to focus on the outside world or the inside world?
Their inside world.
Yeah, they go internal.
Yeah.
And one of the things that depression is, it becomes an addiction because it's a way to connect with yourself. One of the greatest human needs we all have is connection.
Yeah.
And one of the easiest ways for you to connect is to feel sorry for yourself and to feel bad for yourself.
Shit.
And you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you look at it, everyone thinks that like depression attacks me, emotions happen, but we create them inside of ourselves. And now sometimes we do it so often that it just becomes our go-to emotion. We talk about this idea of there's an emotional home, and you have a positive emotional home and you have a negative emotional home. And it's that thing that you've practiced so much, that emotion you've practiced so much. And by practice, I mean, you focus on one thing, you use the same words every time, use the same physiology right there, and you can just go into it like that. Automatically, you're depressed. Yeah. And that was for me too. Look, I was depressed for years. Tony Robbins was the one who really helped me pull out of that and start to understand, not just like he said something, all of a sudden I'm not depressed anymore. He taught me why it actually happens, and so I can work on it myself. And it wasn't overnight, of course, but I started to realize that I had to recondition that. We call it the triad.
Yeah.
And when you recondition that, now all of a sudden it's a different trigger, a different habit, different ritual. So I haven't been depressed in decades now at this point. I do feel frustrated. I do get irritated. So my negative emotional home has upgraded from depression, like down in the dumps, to frustration.
Yeah.
Because same thing we were talking about. Like, I know at times in certain business deals or something, I'm so close. So I'll switch my triad to frustration and my muscles will get tense and I'll breathe a little bit differently. But then on the positive side, it's usually humor. It's joking. It's joy. So I have a really good, positive emotional home, and I'm still working on my negative emotional home.
That's amazing, man. I love the fact that you said that. I'm listening to you talking. I'm like, all right, I understand frustration to transition, because I could say, since I overcame depression a couple years ago, I don't get in a state of depression anymore, but I do move over to frustration or anxiety now. But yeah, I'm like, I'm going to ask you after we're done, how do you transition from stress or anxiety to joy? I want to do that. So I'm going to ask you after we finish this.
Of course.
All right. So the next question we have is from Sasha Gomez, and she is with AG Insurance Brokers. And she asks, how do you overcome the feeling of the imposter syndrome?
I hear a lot of this, especially these days. It's not new, but it's just with social media and everything, everyone being so connected, I think you just hear it so much more. One of the first challenges, if using the language, using the words imposter syndrome, it becomes something else, right? We literally just got done talking about depression. The reason a lot of people feel depressed is because they call it depressed. Any bad feeling they feel, they call it depressed, and then they go into that habit, into that ritual. But some days you might not even be depressed, but you call it depressed and you're like, you were a little bummed out today. I'm a little tired. Man, I didn't get enough sleep. And they call it depression. Automatically, they go into depression.
Yeah.
So imposter syndrome is really interesting because it's a syndrome. It's something that there's a difference between depression and clinical depression. There's a difference between just, God, I don't know if I'm good enough at this versus imposter. Very heavy, different language that we use. So one, the first suggestion, stop using those damn words, right? Number two, start to take a look at what you have done already. Most entrepreneurs, especially anyone who's a commissioned salesperson, whether it's insurance or real estate, title, mortgage, all these things, I've not seen an entrepreneur who really gives themselves enough credit for what they've already done. They think about the things that they haven't done. They think about the things they haven't achieved. So their focus is over here on the negative side. They focus on everything that's going wrong. They focus on everything that didn't work out instead of focus on what did work out. What could I pat myself on the back for? And just those moments, not that you have to be braggadocious all the time and look how much money I made or I closed this client. I hate that shit. Someone who really is saying, you know what? I got more sales. I did better. I reached out. I did the activities today. I can pat myself on the back. Man, I did it. And just giving yourself a little credit. Imposter syndrome is funny because everyone else feels the same damn way. We were talking about that before we started recording, like anyone who's, oh yeah, I'm the man, I'm the woman, man, I'm the best. They're full of shit because we're all human beings. We all have moments of doubt. We all have moments of stress. And if you could just be okay with it, okay, maybe I'm not perfect yet, but I'm working on it. I'm getting better.
I think we focus so much on Instagram, and like I was telling you earlier that because I was going through some stuff, and we're gonna wait for me to ask my questions in a bit. Sure. And but overall, like I feel like the perception of what people put out on Instagram, and I know some of these entrepreneurs, and then a lot of them, there's a couple people that I know that wear a lot of hats, and when they take off their hats, like their hairline's over here.
Yeah.
They seem like they got their stuff together, but I guess I'm making assumptions. But I think I heard Gary Vee say a lot of people are the biggest bullshitters, like a lot of entrepreneurs, and we put up a front, even to a certain extent. I even do that myself as well when we show that positive side of that. Hey, we got our shit together. But in reality, we don't.
Yeah.
We're like figuring this out a day at a time. But I think the biggest thing is going to be in the end, like we just stay in the fight. We do this every single day and we show up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a part of an online forum where a lot of people come and ask for advice, and they ask a bunch of questions. And they're like, oh, I'm in this situation and I really want to build a business. I want to do this. What do you think about this? And my first question is always, okay, cool. What's your experience? What's your background? Where you're from? I don't want to tell you any of that. Okay. That's pretty freaking hard. Yeah. How much money are you making now? I'm not going to tell you that. Okay. It's pretty hard to have a conversation and help you grow your business if you're not telling me like some of these basic details. Yeah, I'm successful. I just need you to know that.
Huh.
Okay. Have fun.
Yeah.
But that's, what is that? The saying got really popular on Instagram by a bunch of people who only show their highlight reels. Look at someone's Instagram. You're seeing their highlight reels. And then you look through their Instagram and it's nothing but like perfect doctored photos of them.
Yeah.
Everything is filtered. It's just funny, the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah. I guess for me for my line of business, that's all, that's all it is. So for the next question, it actually comes from Social Shell. She is a social media manager, and she's my right hand woman with my company. So her question is, what would you say is the top 3 most important habits to be a successful entrepreneur?
Number 1, this is going to sound a little silly, but health is wealth. Right? It's really hard to focus on anything. If your body is hurting, you're tired all the damn time, it's difficult. Number 1 is taking care of yourself physically, right? And that's hard to do because it's like you feel like I gotta work. But by doing that, you're not taking those moments out to do better. Clear your head, get your mental state right, get your physical state right. That's number 1. Number 2, education. More than anything else. And when I say education, I don't mean traditional education, because I think traditional education, college, university, I think it's doomed. It's over. But when I look at education, it's a little bit about my story coming back from being homeless and all that stuff. I read the Tony Robbins book first. And then from there, I felt like I was catching up to all my peers who had went to university and went to college. And I'm like, I got to catch up. I got to figure this out. So I read, now at this point in my life, I've read a little over 2,000 books. Everything I can get my hands on: sales, marketing, copywriting, business, entrepreneurship, psychology, therapy, like everything I could get my hands on. I read it because I was constantly trying to educate myself. And there was a funny thing that happened in my life several years ago where I'm sitting at some of these business meetings and talking to people, and they're like, I don't know what we should do. I'm like, what do you mean? You guys are a bunch of marketers. Like, you're supposed to do this and this. Don't, like, they had never read the book. They'd never gone through and educated themselves. So I think two versions of educating yourself. Number one is just collecting as much knowledge as you possibly can, because you never know what's going to be useful and what's not going to be useful. And a lot of people would say, well, that's a waste of time. You never know, right? But the second piece is learning how to learn, right? Learning what you don't know. Like, how do I ask the question? How do I find it? Whether it's Google or artificial intelligence or going out and asking the right person, like, how do I learn what I don't know? So those would be the two. And I suppose the third habit really comes down to I think it really comes down to communication, because anything in entrepreneurship is going to be based around communication. You can't build a business by yourself on an island without talking to anybody. So you got to learn how to communicate, whether that's through the written word, whether it's through voice, whether it's through video, whatever it is. You have to learn how to educate yourself, but you got to learn how to communicate that education as well. Physical, knowledge, communication.
I agree. Like, I feel like there's especially the biggest one I agree with is going to be the health portion of it, because I feel the moment that you have your health in order, like, it just, if you show up to the gym a couple times out of the week consistently, it spills over. Even when you're going through shit in your business and you're like, man, I don't feel like going to work because I have all the stress. How am I going to pay this bill or do this and that? But you still show up. Eventually, hey, because you showed up, you might meet the right person at that time, make the right call. But the same thing with your health. If you don't go to the gym every day, you don't take care of yourself, you don't show up, then everything just, shit hits the fan.
I can't tell you how many people I met that are just like, they're trying to build a business, they're trying to do this, but they're tired all the time. They're sick all the time. They never feel good. They got brain fog just because they're beat up. So at some point you got to take care of your health so that you can keep the machine going.
No, I totally agree. The next question I have is from a good friend of mine. His name is David Madrid with Cross Country Mortgage. And his question is, how do you identify your life purpose and ensure that your efforts are aligned with your purpose?
Two thoughts that I have on this. You can't find your life's purpose on the couch. I think a lot of people try to sit around and try to think of what's my life's purpose. Like, your life's purpose is not going to jump out from behind a rock and be like, ha, I'm your life's purpose. Yeah. Like, that's never going to happen. So I think you find it by getting out in the world, traveling, experiencing things, meeting people, doing things, because then you start to see, like, you're tasting, maybe you like this flavor, maybe you like this flavor. But for a lot of people, I think they just don't try enough things because, I don't know if I'd like that. Okay, cool. Go try it anyways and see what it's all about. And maybe you do love it. Maybe you get excited about this. This whole business that you've created, you probably never would have thought this is where you would have gone, especially a couple of years ago, right? Where you're trying to figure out, okay, where am I headed next? What am I doing? But now all of a sudden, you love this stuff. And it's oh, cool, awesome. But then the second piece of that I would say is, I don't think there's such thing as one life purpose. I think you're going to have multiple. Some people say, I'm only a mom. I'm only a dad. I only do business. I only do this. That's bullshit, right? There's many different facets of you. There's many different pieces of you. So your life's purpose is, what would be the plural? Purpose? Whatever it is. So you're going to say, okay, this is where I'm at. When I opened the karate school, I thought that was it. I literally thought it was going to be happily ever. I can't even describe it to you that, like, when I saw the studs going up to build my first karate school and they're putting up the drywall and stuff, I literally thought the book was going to be closed and that was it. Happily ever after. And the screen would fade to black. And that was it. Like, I can't even explain. And people think I'm joking about that. But for some reason in the back of my head, that's what I thought it was going to be. For the rest of my life, I was going to be a karate instructor and that was it. And clearly that wasn't it.
Yeah.
You know, that the story just keeps going. Instead of trying to stress yourself out and try to figure out your life's purpose today, why don't you just say, okay, for the next 3 years, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm excited about. This is what motivates me in this chapter of my life. Let me go for it.
No, I love that because the stuff that you were bringing up, it made me think about where I was about 10 years ago, and I thought real estate was going to be the end game.
Yeah.
And gradually I got involved with doing the whole social media content stuff for real estate clients and my stuff. And I fell in love with it. And I feel ultimately, ever since I started this, yes, like I've gone through the roller coaster of an entrepreneur, the stress, the ups and downs, but I'm the happiest, man. Like, I never in my life, especially in the last 4 years, I never thought I was going to be here at the office. Like today, I came in at 6:30 in the morning because I wanted to catch up on some work, but it's not out of my normal schedule that I'm here at 6:30, and sometimes I'll leave till 5 or 6. I'm here for 12 hours. I never done that. I haven't done that in years, and actually, even when I had my 9 to 5. But it doesn't feel like work, man, because I'm enjoying myself. I love creating content, and I feel being able to do that for myself and able to coach other people when they're trying to create their own content, it brings me so much joy, man. Like, I feel ultimately right now I make a decent amount of money, but this is like the least money I made in a long time, but I'm the happiest.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds weird to say that out loud, but I know eventually business is going to pick up and I'm going to be in a better position. But overall, even in this transition, and I think you brought this up to me where sometimes it's better just to enjoy the actual journey, the marathon or whatever. It's not just about that.
You're never going to get to the end.
Yeah.
The end for us human beings is death.
Yeah.
So if you realize that so many people are trying to race to get to death, right? Let me accomplish as much as I can before I get to that finish line. And it's like, why don't we just stop and smell the roses a little bit? Why don't you enjoy? I did Mount Kilimanjaro, several months ago now. And it was so easy to just, because you're hiking 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day. And so you're just trudging along with your little trekking poles and you're looking down at the ground, making sure you don't trip on something. And you got to stop yourself and look up and be like, oh my God, look at that view. Yeah. That's insane. So it was just a stark reminder that all of us need to do that in life too. Just stop and look around. And, hey, this is pretty cool. Look at this place.
Yeah.
We can dream bigger. It's cool.
No, definitely. I love that. All right, so let's go to the next question, and it is a good friend of mine. His name is Jay. He is a wholesaler / investor. His question is, how do I adapt a positive attitude towards consistency and discipline and developing a goal at the same time?
It's a big question. It's 6 questions all in one.
Roll into one.
Ask him one more time.
All right. How do I adapt a positive attitude towards consistency, discipline, and developing
Again, I would always be careful of the weight of words. Like, how do I have a positive attitude towards discipline? I don't like discipline. I grew up in the martial arts, and that was nothing but discipline. We got smacked if we didn't if we moved or spoke out of turn or didn't do the push-ups right or whatever it was. We got hit with a little stick. It was great. For me, growing up, I was always rebellious, and I hated the idea of discipline. And a lot of people say, you need to discipline yourself and make sure that you do this. Do you really? Maybe. Yeah, you need to do the work, but maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just I get to do this stuff. So changing the words from I have to do this to I get to do this, that transforms a lot of things. Oh, I've got to discipline myself. I have to go work out. What if you get to work out? How many other people don't have the body to be able to do it? How many other people, can't walk? They're paraplegic. How many people, have struggles? Take a breath for a second. I get to go work out. I get to exercise. I get to do what I want to do. Versus trying to find joy and discipline because I have to do it. It's just changing the thought in the back of your mind just a little bit makes all the difference and I think if you're doing what you love, I think you're always going to be happy. Yeah, there's going to be challenging days, but can you imagine getting a job right now? Can you imagine going back to 9 to 5? There's those days where you're like, man, I screw all this. I hate this. This is stupid. I got to pay the bills. I got to do this. I got employees. I've got issues. And then you're like, maybe I should just quit and go get a job. And how long does that thought last? Like 15 seconds? But you're like, no, never mind.
The funny thing is that actually crossed my mind not so long ago. I was like,
dude, once a week.
That is hilarious. Oh, man. All right. So we're going to get to the last portion. I have 2 more questions, and they're going to be coming from me.
Sure.
All right. So Ben with Monumental Heart Media, he's a really good looking business owner.
He's a pretty good guy.
And a good guy. And my first question is, dude, how, and I've been doing this, especially because I've been going, we were talking about this before we started filming. There's some stuff that happened with one of my Airbnb rentals that didn't perform as well as I thought it was going to be in February, and some HOA rules changed, and I'm actually going to sell it. But money got a little tight, and I got a little creative, but throughout this whole process of going through the roller coaster, I started procrastinating, and I haven't done it in a long time. But it was almost like a cycle where things got overwhelmed. I felt I was super overwhelmed, and I put some of the stuff off, and then it piled on, and I just procrastinated, and it just made it worse. And actually that's the reason why I'm here at 6:30 in the morning, because I needed to catch up on some stuff.
Right.
And how do I overcome that?
First, I think the realization that we're all human, like shit happens. And in business, there's always going to be the next problem, the next challenge. Like the reason we're entrepreneurs is because we're problem solvers. And that's it. Nobody else is going to solve the problem. So we have to solve the problem. If you want to not solve any problems, go to work, punch 9 to 5, flip the burger, whatever it is, just do your thing. But even then, like problems are a sign of life. If you don't have any problems, again, you're probably dead, right? That's it. That's the only way you don't have problems. In life, there's always going to be the next challenge, the next health challenge. And that can overwhelm you or it can excite you, whichever one you want to decide that it's going to do. And from just a strategic standpoint, the brain works very interestingly. One of the things that tends to happen inside of the brain is we remember in threes, never any more than that. This is why your phone number is in 3 chunks. This is why your address is in 3 chunks. This is why your social security number is in 3 chunks. Everything is in 3 chunks so that you can remember it. And that was consciously designed. That was how it was created for a reason. When you start to think of more than 3 things, your brain goes like overwhelm, overload. So when you come into procrastination, more than likely, it's because you're starting, I got to do this, and 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 I got to do that. And that's going to make this problem. That's exactly it. So anytime you find yourself in that overwhelm, overload, just like we started this conversation off with, what's the action signal? Okay, stop. I got to break this down into 3 chunks. And there's some things that you really enjoy to do. That's 1 chunk. But something that you don't like doing, you tend to have 8,000 things about it. So let me give you an example. Someone who hates to work out, in their mind, they say, if I'm got to work out, I got to wake up early in the morning, and I got to find my water bottle, and I got to go get my shoes, and I got to find the right outfit to wear, and I got to find my shorts, and I got to get my gym bag, and I got to find the right snack, and I got to make sure I got my protein, I got to make sure I do this, and then I got to drive over there, and I got to stop over here, and then I got to find my membership card to go to the gym, and then when I get to the gym, I got to scan the thing, and then I got to find the exercise, and I got to make sure I get it. So for them, it's like this big, huge thing. What is it for you?
That's exactly it. That I say I have to edit this video, I have to edit this podcast,
But let me ask, in the workout, you just go work out.
Oh yeah, I just work out.
Literally, it's 1 chunk, right? It's one thing in your brain. Oh, I'm gonna go work out. Yeah. And when you get there, it's chest day, it's leg day, it's whatever. You don't sit there and say, I got to do 4 sets of 10 reps of this, and I have to make sure I do this chest day. You might do it when you get there, but it's still just, it's chest day. Oh yeah, I got to do legs today. That's how you think of it. True. But for the video editing, same thing. Anybody is enjoying video editing? It's, oh God, I got to get the file, and I got to make sure I look at it. I got to watch it. I got to make sure the audio is lined up. I got to do. That's what I think of when I think of editing a video. Yeah. Like I want to shoot my brains out, right? Because I'm like, oh God, this is way too much. I just need Ben to do this for me.
Overall, the last couple of days, that's what I've been doing. I just showed up.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, the moment that I started doing it and I start taking action and just really just start chipping away at the things that I needed to do, I feel more relaxed.
Yeah.
Like I feel more, and I just feel, I put some music in the background at a low sound, and it's just like the ambiance, and I feel relaxed.
Yeah.
But that was one of my questions. The other question I have is, this is huge, man, because I recently, the first time I started my media company, I was doing real estate aggressively, and I started the media company, and I had this guy that told me, like, you should focus on one thing. And so this time around, I just mainly have been focusing on just this. but business hasn't been going as fast, like growing as fast as I can. And I picked up some leads, and I'm like, dude, like, should I balance two things, or should I focus on one thing? Because me focusing on one thing hasn't, I know I'm heading in the right direction. And but overall, like, that is, what do you recommend? Do you recommend people just, like, when they want to go after their business, should they transition? Because my decision to do this was because an old coach of mine told me, you should just focus on one thing, and I did it.
Yeah.
But I'm hurting financially. But now, because of it, now was that a smart move? Or I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that has gone through that, where they're like managing a couple businesses. And
This is a really hard question and thought to answer, because I have a different answer for a stranger who I don't know and like my best friends.
Yeah.
Like the stranger, I'm like, yeah, you got to pay for overhead. You got to pay your rent. You got to get food on the table. You got to take care of your family. You got to do this. But if it were just you and me, we're sitting at the bar, we're having a drink, we're talking about this, I'm like, dude, don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.
Go for it. Because life is so short. You just got to go. It's difficult because you can't say this to just like the random person on the street. But in life, you're 100% committed or you're not committed at all.
True.
That's it. What are you going to be, halfway committed to your marriage? We get down here, you call up your lady and you're like, hey, I love you. I miss you. You're the greatest thing in my life. And I'm like 99% committed. What is she going to say? What the hell? You're 99% committed to me? But that's the business. From a strategic side, we'll talk about that, but it's okay. How do I acquire more customers? How do I go back to the chunking? There's only 3 ways to grow a business. Get more customers, get those customers to spend more money, or get them to come back more often. Those are the only 3 chunks in business. That's all you got to do. And so right now, yeah, maybe undercharging some of the clients, you can charge them a little bit more. Maybe you can get some more customers, but ultimately breaking it down in your brain, here's the only 3 things I got to do today and every day. Get more customers, get those customers to spend more money, get them to come back more often. And that's it. So then you start to think, okay, what are the strategies there? But with that being said, yeah, business is expensive. And I've been in this boat now. Right now, I told you some of the projects that I have going on. I'll try to keep it a little fairly secret. But now I'm sitting at the big boys table.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more money coming in and there's a lot more money going out. I've learned that money problems never go away. They just have more zeros. So you talk about the Silicon Valley Bank that just happened. They lost $170 billion in a day. Come on, like bigger numbers. But realistically, you realize, okay, as the muscles of entrepreneurship grow, you can handle a lot more of that stress. I don't know how I'm going to pay the mortgage this month. I don't know how I'm going to pay rent this month. I don't know. What's worse for me was never like, how do I pay my bills? It was, how do I pay payroll? Because there's other people relying on me and I'm like, I got to find a way. I don't care what, I got to figure this out. I got to make it, whether I got to borrow it or do something, whatever it is. One of the businesses that I'm working on right now, it's a software company and each user costs about $3 per month to us, not for them. It's not like we're making $3. It costs us $3 to provide this free service. Well, we're trying to scale up to 1 million users. That's a little over $3 million per month that we're going to end up paying. Like, now the numbers are a little bit bigger and that's like, oh my God, where's this money going to come from? How do we figure this out? How do we grow faster? Because the faster we grow, the more money we owe. And it's like, oh God. And with the hopes of getting acquired at some point. All that being said, for you, just us, nobody's listening, right?
Yeah, nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching. Nobody's listening. Dude, yeah, you got to go for it. Instead of spending that time on a split focus, get some more customers today. Just call people up. Hey, I need your credit card. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Do you trust me? Good. Give me a credit card and just start running those suckers. I've had to do that many times where I'm just like, hey, I need money. I got to go. What do you got for me? Let's do it. So hopefully that's helpful.
No, it is. It is. And you're absolutely right. I feel, that I think I'm just going back to comfort because I done real estate for so long and it's just the easy. And I guess I'm trying to.
You ever see that movie Warrior?
Who's in it? It sounds familiar.
I can't remember who the actors are, but it's supposedly a real life story, I'm sure quite embellished or whatever, but kid is a gymnast, superstar, whatever, and headed towards the Olympics or whatever he's going to do. I'm struggling to remember the exact story now. But of course, he has this recurring dream that his knee shatters. And of course, he goes to a gymnastics meet and his knee shatters into a million pieces. And he meets this who's just a mechanic working at a gas station. And he end up building a relationship with him. He trains him. And the training that he gives them is this mental mindset training of being okay with it and coming to terms with his knee and coming to terms with his life and all of these things. And towards the end of the movie, I think you should go back into gymnastics. He's like, no, you just told me this whole thing. I'm finally okay with letting this go. And you're going to tell me to go back into gymnastics. He says, yeah, now that you don't need it, you can go do it. And like that emotional attachment of like, just have to have this. I have to have this. Because they go back in real estate, you sell a couple homes. That's probably a smart move. Get a couple big commission checks, throw that into the business, grow it even faster. That's a smart move. But if you like, I got to do this because it's where I'm comfortable. I have to go back to this. I have to go back to this. If you take the emotion out of it, now all of a sudden you can do it without the stress, without beating yourself up, without freaking out every second. God, do I just give up on this to go back and do this because it's what's comfortable? No, just release yourself of that pressure. Watch the movie. If you haven't watched the movie, it's great. It's a book too, and it's fantastic.
Wow. Yeah, you got me thinking, man. No, you're right, man. I actually feel more relaxed, and it's just part of that's it. Like doing these podcasts, man, I just want to be honest and real. That hopefully somebody that's watching this they can relate to this. Like you're people that are gonna. Because I post everything that I'm doing on social media for the most part, and doing these podcasts, they're gonna see behind the scenes. Like we're just gonna be real and honest, and nothing's gonna be scripted. But overall, no. But you're absolutely right. This is my doubt, I guess. That again, like this, not so long ago, I was feeling. I don't want to freaking get emotional, but I was feeling like, damn, dude, here we go again, man. I fucking believed in myself, and things aren't going my way. But I keep on showing up. I'm not giving up.
Good. And see, what's interesting about this is I always know your passion is bar none. You have more passion than pretty much the vast majority of the world that I know, at least. And what's interesting about that is at some point, it's going to be so routine for you that's going to just be there, and you're going to look back at these moments and you'll be like, yeah, that sucked, but it wasn't that bad. And it's always interesting, that old saying, someday we'll look back at this and laugh. The question is, why wait? Why not just laugh at it now? This is ridiculous. I can't believe after all this time I'm still struggling to get this bill. Because literally, dude, I'm telling you, I got 4 companies right now that I'm working with and I'm working on, and I'm trying to grow these to, I want to play at the big boys table. So I'm looking at 100 million, 200 million, 500 million, like massive businesses. Does that mean I'm paying all the bills? No, it means that I'm where's this money going to come from? Where's this money going to come? That's a constant thing. Elon Musk is interesting. I love him or hate him, but when he sold that, what is it, ZipPay that turned into PayPal, when he sold that, he had 170 million, literally threw every penny back into Tesla and back into SpaceX. And he was sleeping on somebody's couch.
Wow.
So it's okay. Like, here's someone who just wants to build things, just want to create things. And for a lot of us entrepreneurs, I think we all do that, where it's like, we're willing to be the riverboat gamblers and throw it all on the table and let's go. And if I lose it all, that sucked. I'll figure something out.
Man, this is a intense episode. I wasn't expecting for me to pour myself out there, but I think people are gonna watch this, and I feel people are gonna relate. I think we have to approach social media. Like I want people to watch this and be like, hey, man, I understand where you're coming from, and the conversations of some of the people I've been having with going through their own journey. Like I have a buddy of mine that he's going to school for real estate, and he's been having issues with his school exam to pass his test. And I tell him he's been missing the gym. He's been down, like he's not answering my calls. And I told him, I was like, dude, just keep on showing up, man. There's other people that have taken that test, and it took them like literally 12, 15 times before they passed it.
Yeah.
And some of those people that struggled with that test, like they're uber successful and they're making a shit ton of money. It's just, you just got to show up. And that same advice I give myself every day. It's like, I just got to keep on showing up, and things are turning around, man. But you're absolutely right. Like I'm not going to let go of the real estate right now, but ultimately I do want to end up in this, and I'm not going to give up on this, because this is the reason.
There's a purpose for it.
Yeah. And I got emotional because it just made me think about the past, because the reason why I let go of the first company was because I gave up. I gave up on myself, and I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah. That's the old saying I love from Tony. He says, God's delays are not God's denials. And it's like when you realize that, you're like, okay, over the course of time, is this really going to be there? Yeah. If you just keep going over the course of time, anything is possible.
Just got to keep on showing up. Oh, wow. All right, Steven, I really appreciate you coming by today. And if you guys are interested in asking any questions, like I said earlier, send me a DM, put it on the comments down below on either on YouTube, if you see an Instagram reel. And I appreciate it, man. So
Appreciate
thank
you.
you guys for watching, guys.